Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving right into a fascinating idea. It's all about AI, market panic, and a potential future where, to navigate all the chaos, maybe everyone needs to be looking at the same map.
So let's start with a scene that I bet it feels pretty familiar. A new viral report about AI disruption just drops, right? And bam, suddenly the market is just this sea of red. You've got software stocks, cybersecurity firms, everybody is just sprinting for the exits.
But here's the thing. What if this panic isn't really about AI being some unstoppable force? What if it's about something, more fundamental? What if the market isn't being irrational at all? What if it's just reacting, logically, to a really, really bad map of reality? A map that's fragmented and totally incomplete.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this, let's take a look at the report that kicked off all this fear in the first place. And more importantly, let's see what the critics are saying it gets so dangerously wrong.
And listen, this report, it's gripping stuff. It's terrifying. It paints this picture of AI agents just wiping out millions of knowledge worker jobs. And then consumer demand completely collapses, which sends the whole economy into this inescapable doom loop. It's a really, really compelling story.
But, and this is a big but, critics like Faisal Masood are quick to point out that this kind of story conveniently ignores all the messy, real-world stuff. Things like legal liability when an AI messes up, or the huge cost of updating old systems, what they call technical debt. And maybe most importantly, our basic human need for someone, a real person, to be accountable when things go sideways. These aren't small details. They're massive brakes on runaway change.
And this right here, this leads us to the absolute core idea of what we're talking about today. The problem isn't that the market is broken. It's not that it's irrational. The problem is that it's working with a fundamentally broken view of the world.
We throw around this term market failure a lot, which kind of assumes the whole system is flawed. But this idea of a geometry failure, that suggests something totally different. It's like maybe the system itself is okay, but all the players, the investors, the CEOs, you name it, are all staring at their own tiny, isolated piece of a giant jigsaw puzzle. They have no idea how their piece connects to the whole.
Okay, so if the problem is a broken view, a bad map, what's the fix? Well, let's dive into the proposed solution. And it's a pretty radical one, a completely new kind of public infrastructure, but for information.
I want you to imagine this for a second. A live, constantly updated, shared map of our entire economic and social system. Seriously, think of it like a public utility. It's like GPS, but for the economy. And the key part? It's not owned by some big corporation or a secretive hedge fund. Nope, it's a public good, a resource that's available for everyone to use and build on. And the impact of this, it would be absolutely transformative. Investors could actually see that, hey, automation over here is creating new demand over there, which stops the panic selling. CEOs could make way smarter decisions because they can actually align their big plans with real-world things like how much power the local grid can handle. And regulators, well, they could finally spot a crisis brewing before it blows up, not after the fact. All right, that all sounds amazing in theory, right? But what would this shared map actually show us? What are we missing today that this would reveal?
Well, the idea is that it would make 5 totally crucial interconnected scales of our world visible. For instance, it could show how something like the microbial health of the soil in one county directly affects the property values of local farms. That's the micro level, which then in turn impacts the entire community's tax base at the meso level. Right now, those connections are almost completely invisible to the people making the big decisions.
Okay, wait a second. This whole idea immediately brings up a huge, critical question about how our markets even work, about competition itself.
And it's a totally fair question, isn't it? If everyone has the exact same map, the same information, how does anyone win? Doesn't that just kill any competitive advantage? Wouldn't everyone just make the exact same moves?
This is where we see a fundamental shift in what competition even means. The old advantage was all about hoarding secret data, right? Keeping it locked away. The new advantage is about who can make the best decisions using the same data everyone else has. It's not about predicting the future anymore. It's about being the best at completing the future, building it wisely.
So in this new game, the winners aren't the folks with the biggest, baddest data centers. Nope. The winners are the ones who can look at that shared map and see connections that other people miss. They're the ones who build real, actual trust with communities. The ones who finish the important projects that others leave stranded. The advantage shifts to execution, to relationships, to wisdom. All right, let's bring this all home. Let's look at how this whole idea creates a much more optimistic vision for our AI future, especially compared to that doom and gloom report we started with.
So instead of that terrifying doom loop, where AI is just this disconnected force of destruction, we can create what's called a completion loop. And in this model, we can actually see how, say, job losses in one area create brand new demand for different skills somewhere else. We can see where the money saved from new efficiencies can be reinvested to make communities stronger. Value isn't just destroyed. It gets recomposed, it gets moved and rebuilt.
And that's really the core takeaway here. The market didn't panic because AI's all-powerful. It panicked because we're making billion-dollar decisions with half the picture. We're flying blind, totally unable to see how a new AI model connects to the power grid, or the local job market, or, well, everything else.
Look, a shared map like this, it's not a magic bullet. It's not going to solve all our problems for us. It won't get rid of risk or competition, but by giving every single person the same starting point, the same view of reality, it might just let us start playing the game we were always meant to play. A game not of secrets and fear, but of skill, judgment, and trust in building a better future. So the real question is, are we ready to see the whole picture?